back for the next installment of our female executive video interview series. And we have with us today Tan Bin Ru, is the Chief Executive Officer for Southeast Asia for OneConnect Technology, which is extremely fast-growing, successful business and at the forefront of modern technologies. 10 questions, and so let's jump right into it. Through the course of your journey, if anything, did you have to sacrifice?
So first of all, it wasn't really a strive towards being successful that got me where I am today. It was having enough to feed the family, having enough to support my parents, to support my husband in bringing up the kids. But along the way, I would think that I put in a lot of time at work. So I definitely think that if anything, time for myself, time for the kids, or with my parents would be the sacrifice.
Which woman has inspired you the most?
That it's ironical a lot of times when we try to encourage women in the workforce or women in tech. If any peer is a challenge or any manager is a challenge, usually it's also a woman. So women probably made it made a bad situation for you as well as a worse situation for you. I'm very fortunate to have a very good women mentor. I was in HP for 10 years, and half of that 10 years was all under a women leader. I really learned people management skills under that women leader. And I think I've gotten a lot out of what she taught me, given that I moved from a very competent individual contributor to managing a team of 300-400 in HP. She taught me a lot about empathizing with others, because really, as a competent individual, I am pretty a straight face at work. I mean, I focus on work and really being somewhat aggressive at work. And I would switch that mode on so as to achieve the maximum business outcome. She taught me all about really slowing down to make an impact. Slowing down yet being able to understand the strength of others. One typical scenario I remember was she gets gift for these secretaries, and I asked her, why would you get a gift for the secretary? And she told me that the secretaries will probably be able to appreciate that gift and probably be able to help you with things that's maybe outside of your control. Yeah, and that taught me a lot about really understanding the strength that individual has, no matter big or small in the organization.
Could you remember a key leadership lesson you've also learned along the way that's maybe unique as a female leader?
One key lesson I learned from my own career journey is I always almost 100% regret whenever I decide not to speak up. And I would think that a lot of women might feel lack of confidence in a certain way, especially if you're not an expert in the field, that you dare not ask a basic question, or you just don't speak up with regards to your view. It may be a simple question: are we going down the right track? It just didn't feel right? And almost 100% of the time, whenever I decide not to speak up, I regret. Yeah. So I would think that from a leadership lesson I learned is go with your feel, be genuine to contribute. Everything is about learning. And a lot of times when you ask several basic questions, you realize that your understanding is a whole lot better and clearer.
Outside of the office, how do you unplug?
I know my husband for 10 years and married him for 20. So we're together for 30 years. So my husband's not that interesting anymore. And my kids are grown. My son is in the army. My daughter is in high school. I spend all my time with the dogs, actually. I've tried reading. I've tried exercising. I've tried not to touch my laptop after 9, maybe watch a Korean drama. Nothing works for me because I still think of work when I'm asleep. I still wake up in the morning feeling like I have not rested. So the only thing is really spending time with the dogs, because the dogs need attention. And especially if I'm grooming them, the process of grooming, I actually take quite a bit of time to groom them, because yokis, you can slowly cut and trim the hair. And it takes a lot of focus, because otherwise you might injure the dog. And that amount of focus allows me to totally switch off. You can, after grooming the dogs, you feel like, what was the last thing on my mind? I don't quite remember. And that's where you really feel that, okay, you have switched off. Yeah.
Back to the office now. The best advice you've received along your journey?
I'm very lucky in my career to have gotten many good mentors along the way. And maybe this is also an expectation of who you work for. Whenever I choose a person to work for, or the company is important as well. The person that you follow and the person you contribute all your time needs to be worth it, in my opinion. I have this very good mentor in HP as well as in Microsoft, because when he moved to Microsoft, he has asked me to join him in Microsoft, so I also joined him in Microsoft. And there was this role in HP that he was looking to get me into, and he knew from the start he's going to give me the role, but he decided during the interview to tell me that he's not that decided to give me the role. And then I got a little defensive, and I told him, I said, I started giving him all the justifications. My experience in this field is more than the rest. This area had 5 functions, and I've done all of them. I've spent this much of years in HP. I'm your best performer. And at the end of it, he said, you go back and you tell me a different set of reasons why the organization should pick you in this role and come back to me. He had decided from the onset he's going to give me the role, but he wanted to hear different reasons from me. Took me a few days of getting a bit upset and then going back to tell him that the organization or the department is at this particular stage whereby my expertise fits in a different in a complementary way. And then he ended the conversation with, you see, it's the same reasons, right? What you said in the first day, but now it's not all about yourself. That's what he said. And that really struck me, that learnings that he deliberately gave me stuck with me for a long time. And I think it's really, really good learnings, because I feel that a lot of times when we are very competent individual or very competent manager, we have a tendency to look into our own strengths and feel that you deserve what the organization should give you, the opportunities that should be entitled for you. And a lot of times that's what's getting into your way in terms of doing more and moving up. Yeah.
Did you experience any assumptions or biases, both unconscious or consciously, that you experienced or that you were aware of or noticed as a female leader?
I actually feel that I have benefited more being a lady rather than discriminated being a lady. And
Okay,
maybe
great.
it's the field that I'm in. I mean, if I'm the guys, I'll probably cry out and say that in the area of tech, the women are very well looked after because we need more women in tech. I mean, I have not gotten a role that I'm not worthy of just because I'm a woman, but I definitely has been given an additional consideration because I'm a woman for roles that I'm worthy of, right? Compared to a candidate that's equivalent worthy, but maybe a man due to diversity considerations. So I would think I've benefited a lot being a woman. And so I would urge the women not to lose confidence whenever you are the minority, because there are actually angles that really work for you when you are the minority. But there are general biasness for sure. Like, for example, women are perceived to be more emotional. And a lot of times it's about being an authentic leader that empathizes. If you want to be, if I'm still a straight-faced manager, nobody sees my weakness, right? But if I want to empathize with my team, you want to be vulnerable at times, you want to share your stories at times, there is a tendency to perceive these women as more emotional than the men. Maybe the man does less of that, or the men may do equivalent and not seem as emotional. I think that may be some unconscious bias over there for sure.
What energizes you the most?
Failures is going to happen all the time. And because failures happen all the time, it is important that the slightest things energizes you a lot. That's how you can get a bit more momentum. I remember the first time that I did a major deal, and when things don't happen, you really feel down because you put in that much effort. The more you put in, the harder is the fall, right? What helps me move on is what is expected of me as a leader, so that the team can move on. And that helps me get over it faster.
Tell us about the greatest risk you've taken.
Switching career into something that I've totally not done. I mean, in my early days, I didn't start from sales. I'm a mathematics student. So I actually started from compliance, operational work. So I rise through the corporate ladder from operations work. So at one point, I was looking after, maybe about 300-400 operations staff, and decided that I would switch to sales. It was difficult. Everybody around you will tell you it's not a wise move because I'm too senior to move to sales, and sales comes with a whole lot of more pressure. A smaller team, and actually a lower level. And when I actually took a level down, a much smaller team, from a people manager that's no longer hands-on, I went on to move to a really hands-on work, given that it's a small sales team. And when you're doing well in the organization and that role looks like a downgrade, the whole world tells you it's not a wise move, right? But I had wanted to do it because of skills that I want to learn in the role. And I never looked back. I feel that since then it has opened up a whole lot more doors. When you try something new, of course, your learning curve goes up. You get motivated, learning, and uncomfortable in a new role. But it opens up many more doors for you.
When you do doubt yourself, how do you manage that?
And I think my husband has been a great person to confide in, both work-related and non-work-related. A lot of times, I go with my heart, in terms of what I want to do, much more than my head. So sometimes, as long as if your heart tells you this is the way, and you doubted if this is the right path to go and stuff like that, usually I ask a third party. My husband is a good person to just analyze, and he's been very, very supportive, ensuring me that going with your heart is not a bad thing. Trusting your guts and intuition is most of the time right. I think that helps to get over the doubts in terms of what you want to do. I'm in general a risk taker, so I don't take too long to decide, because the longer you procrastinate, you never do it, right?
What's been your biggest home indulgence that you've allowed yourself?
Indulgence, there's quite a few, but I also think that during this COVID situation, I had a very big takeaway with regards to how I want to spend my time, because I've been on the road quite a bit, traveling almost every week since Microsoft Days as well as OneConnect now. If there is a week that I'm at home, not traveling in Singapore, I actually appreciated that a lot. I started doing things that I said that I really wanted to do that never had time, like try to cook for my husband, whom I have never cooked for him before for the last 20 years that we're married. I spent a lot of time with the dogs. I never had a Netflix account, and I opened up a Netflix account during the circuit breaker and watched whatever I felt I had missed out and not watched. Done all that and realized at the end of the 3 months that I really am not cut out to retire. I should continue working. Okay. Traveling isn't that bad. Going to office is actually quite nice.
We appreciate the sincerity and authentic stories you've shared with us. So thank you so much